These guys are fighting pretty close right now. 17 of Christian Budd managing to hold on. And now they're going to have to deal with the 38 of Thomas Harmon, who's going to make it 3 wide on the inside. They've gotten the 17 of Christian Budd clear. And now Thomas fighting for the lead, giving a little bit of a bump there to Gerald West. Gerald rolling with the punches. They're going 3 wide again, coming off of turn 4. This can be a little bit of a sticky situation, especially if you're the car in the middle. Gotta make sure you give enough space to both the cars around you. And this is absolutely incredible that these guys are still 3 wide. Oh, and Thomas Harmon has gotten loose. Can he save it? He can. Well done, Thomas Harmon. But that was some incredible racing there on display by those guys. Going a little bit of a surprise. Hello everyone and welcome to the Lucas Oil Raceway, originally known as the Indianapolis Raceway Park, for the Team Watson Racing Setups 150 right here on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel for the Output Racing League. You see the cars are on track, practice is already well and truly underway. It's only 15 minutes left here for these guys to get some decent laps in and see what they can do around here. Currently, Brian Pizzakemi sitting on top of the timetable with a 22.124. as we just see Frank Isaacson spinning out past our camera angle. Now, Lucas Oil Raceway is typically a high lane dominated track. But we see here guys experimenting with second, even third lane, not going all the way up to the wall. So there may be a little bit in just going that little bit lower for the lines here racing. Although just as I say that, Corey Williamson goes all the way to the fence. There's Joe Slama in the 9 car. And he did not look like he was having fun. He's currently in P7. So it's Pizzacchemi from Crampton, Harmon, Hernandez, Kraus, Champo, Slama, Pentacup, Isaacson, Watson as your top 10. Gonna have 14 cars participating in the racing action here. So here is your current number 1 sitter, Mr. Brian Pizzacchemi. Oh, and there is shenanigans as Kyle Kraus has gone around. I think that was Chris Champo that went with him. There's the 64 of Jonas Marquez. He's had an incident with Corey Williamson there. There's a 38, Thomas Harmon. Doesn't that car look good? Oh, but he's put it into the fence. Oh, no, he's dinged up Averill. Oh, she won't forgive him for that, I'll tell you that much. But this is already shaping up to what should be a very exciting race around here. The old IRP doesn't get much love these days. Doesn't get to see much racing. It does get to see Cletus and cars. And one of the Crown Vic races for Cletus McFarlane. But apart from that, it mostly just sees local racing and Silver Crowns. So glad that we can put a little bit of spice onto it here. Wouldn't it be cool if we got Crown Vic racing on iRacing? As we just heard someone have a bingle. Not sure who that was. Didn't quite see the number. But this is a very difficult, fairly hard to pass kind of a track. High lane dominating as the 24 of Frank Isaacson has gone around. It's a very technical track as well. And these guys are going to show us how it's done around here. Only a very short track. I think it's just about half a mile, maybe just a little bit longer than a half mile. I'm not completely sure on the specifications of the track. As you can see, James Watson having a spin on the back straight. A few people there that are a little bit unsighted of his presence. Oh, we've got another one around there. That's Hernandez. And he has collected Pizzacchemi. They end up having a little smooching session going into turn 3. The 13, Travis Massier, just behind him, the 92 of Chris Champo, and Chris Champo has gone around. It definitely looks like throttle control on corner exit is going to be a big thing with these cars. You get a little bit too rowdy, she's going to go around on you. Especially on the exit of turn 2. That seems to be the danger spot right now, where most of everything is happening. There's Travis Massier and Kyle Kraus having a little coming together. I feel like I'm going to be saying a lot of names are having a coming together here in practice, at the very least. side by side, Jonathan Hernandez and Brian Pizzakemi. Was that Highline still got it? Oh, look at the looseness of Pizzakemi going into the corner. Thomas Harmon putting another scratch on Avril. If he don't start treating her right, then she's just going to treat him like another ex-boyfriend. Maybe she'll get all T-Swifty on him. Right behind him is James Watson, the sponsor for tonight's event. In front of him, Joe Slama and Brian Pizzakemi. You see the tiny spoilers on these cars. Definitely making things interesting on this short track. As you can see, Pizzakemi attempting the slide job, just gets it pulled off. And it looks like Harmon could not follow through with it as well. So Highline definitely the dominant lane around here, but opportunities are open for some of these lower lanes by the looks of things. Oh, lots of contact between Slama and Harmon on the front straight. Calm down, boys. It's only practice. Slama trying to pinch Harmon down as much as he could, and he's wall riding now going through turns 3 and 4. And I reckon that would have damaged something. Oh, so it looks like Marquez and Kraus have had a big coming together here. It's at the entry of the pit lane, so that's turn 3. Hear tires chirping as cars are, just bouncing around a little bit. A lot of brake pedal getting used in this track. As sideways was Thomas Harmon coming out of turn 4 that time. And look at James Watson trying to range up on his outside. And he's going to get there. It's the preferred line after all. Harmon trying to slide up a little bit to take the title positions. Not going to do it. And he's overstepped the mark. Around he goes. Keeps it off the fence. But he is definitely overheated this set of tires now because of that. So this should definitely lead to some pretty interesting racing. I reckon we might get a couple of cautions for spins. Just judging by what we see here in the practice session so far. And yeah, definitely could get a little bit interesting as the race wears on and the tires wear out. Oh, there's Joe Slama. He's made a mistake coming out of 4 this time. Big nose smash into the fence. That's right where the burnout pad is for Cletus and cars. You see Masia and Marquez both coming out of the pits together. And when you come out of the pits here, you've got to stay on that yellow line all the way through. And if you duck out too early, you will get a pit lane penalty. I think it's a stop and hold too for jumping out there. And if it's under caution, then it's end of the line for you. There's just over 4 minutes left in practice here. These guys will be at their highest comfort level with this track so far. Doesn't mean they're not going to make mistakes, as there is Corey Cook in the 61. So I do still expect them to make mistakes. Hope that they can minimize the mistakes that they're making. There's both Watson and Pizzakemi getting to the fence there. That was coming out of turn 4. Izakami trying to get underneath. Could not complete the slide job. A little tap on corner exit. A little bit of a tail wag as well for the 78 car. As this time he gets the slide job to just about work. But he gets to drive off the corner and around goes Watson. Their corner exits. Definitely where you want to be gentler on the throttle, especially as these tyres wear out. I mean, so far I haven't seen a run longer than a handful of laps. And with less than 10 laps left in this session, you know, these guys, oh, it was a big drift for Frank Isaacson there in front of Travis Massey. That was on corner entry too. Maybe just a little bit too much rear brake in that one. Yeah, tyre conservation is probably going to be the name of the game here if we can get a decent green flag run. And knowing the caliber of drivers that we have here in this league, that is very possible. We now just have a couple of minutes to go. Some of these guys look like they're still trying to push the boundaries a little bit of what's possible. Travis Massey being one of them, with a very high-speed crash into the back wall there, the inside of the back straight wall. Corey Cook just looking for some consistency up high. Now he dives down to the low lane. Thomas Harmon is on the longest lap streak I've seen so far with 8. And I think he's just gotten it wrong. Oh, Jonathan Hernandez has just got it wrong, and he's only on 4-lap-old tyres. And it looks like he's going to do a burnout now, or at least get himself facing in the correct direction, but his right front tyre is stuffed. I don't think he knows it. There's Watson and Pizzacami having a little on-track battle. But we are now less than a minute away from the end of practice, which means very shortly we will be cutting to commercial break. But don't fret, because racing action will be beginning shortly after these short messages. So make sure you guys stay tuned. The grid will be set while we're gone, right here on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel. Alrighty, we are back. It's time for us to show off our starting grid. Starting on the pole, going to be the 9 of Mr. Joe Slammer. Let's see if we can get a better camera angle here. There we go. On his outside will be the 92 of Chris Champo. Starting out of third will be the 72 of TJ Crampton. Fourth will be the 7 of Carl Kraus. P5 will be the 39 of James Watson, with P6, surprisingly, the 38 of Thomas Harmon. P7 will be the 13 of Travis Massio, with P8 the 5 of Mark Pentacuff. P9 will be the 64 of Jonas Marquez, with P10 being the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. P11 will be the 24 of Frank Isaacson, and on his outside in 12th will be the 61 of Corey Cook. And starting on the back row will be the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi, and on his outside will be the 81 of Corey Williamson. So that is how our grid is set for the Team Watson Racing setups. 150 here at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. These guys are definitely going to be putting it all on the line here. Let's see how they do. We'll go one more time around under the pace car, and then we'll set these guys loose for 150 laps. The sun is setting. Definitely adds some extra atmosphere to the race. The pace car goes in on the back straight. These guys have to restart in the restart zone on the front straight. The first start is on green. All the restarts will be on the leader inside of the restart box. And we're off and racing. Huge jump already for Joe Slammer going into turn number 1. And Chris Champo on his outside trying to hold on strong for second. Here comes TJ Crampton in the 72 trying to make moves. It looks like he's captured third over the 7 of Carl Kraus. And look at Chris Champo go. He's already challenging for the lead as we go into turns 3 and 4 for the first time. The first lap does get led by our pole sitter Joe Slammer though, as he has that high line absolutely hooking. See the 72 TJ Crampton. He's trying to make something of this outside line as well. But so is everyone else in the back. And I think we've had an incident. We do. Caution is out already for the 64 of Jonas Marquez. Let's see what happened to Jonas here. Going into turns 1 and 2. So he's on the inside of the 5 of Mark Pentacuff. And what happens as they go into the corner? Oh, you see he's sideways already. So the car just absolutely goes around on him. And Hernandez looks like he gets away unscathed. Oh, Corey Cook does catch the fence a little bit there. Pizzakemi lucky to escape without any damage. And that is the way that cookie crumbles. So lap number 2, and we have our first caution of the race. And we had the 9 of Joe Slammer leading the way. They start catching up to the pace car here. field already starts getting stacked up into their 2x2 formation. A couple of cars have pitted. The Pizakemi, looks like Corey Cook in there to get a little bit of his damage fixed. Jonas Marquez, of course, and the 38 of Thomas Harmon also in the pits. All right. Lights still on the pace car. We'll go at least one more time around. So this time we should see the lights go out on the pace car. Everyone already in 2x2 formation. So it's going to be Slama, Champeau, Crampton, Kraus, Watson, Masia, Pentacuff, Hernandez, Cook, and Isaacson as your top 10. And it looks like Slama experimented with some alternate dimensions quite early in this race. Remember, we've only actually done one racing lap because that caution came out so early. And we're going to be coming to lap number 7 for the green flag. So we got 6 laps under caution. Here we go now as the cars come into turns 3 and 4. Pace car is in. Slama controls the restart in the restart box. And he's off very early in the box too. We're back underway once more. The Slama will take a commanding lead into turn 1, but he's left the outside open. He does get it covered off though. Here comes Chris Champeau looking for a way around. Not going to find one there. Champeau running a much higher line. I can hear tyres squealing in the background. I can hear people getting stacked up and spun out. And I think James Watson has gone around. Oh, it's not James Watson. It's Hernandez. Hernandez has gone around. And that's going to bring us to our second caution of this race. What happened to Hernandez? Coming into turn number 3. Let's see what happens here. Oh, James Watson is actually in front of him. He's locked up. Watson's locked up. He's gotten into the 7 of Kyle Kraus. Sent Kraus sideways. And then Masia has gotten into Watson. Now they're doing tandem drifting here at IRP. Kraus got away with it. Oh, and it looks like Hernandez might have gotten a tap from the 5 of Pentacuff. Oh, Cook, he couldn't get away from this one. Neither two could Williamson, so both the Corys involved. Oh, and that's a big front end contact as well for Hernandez. So we're stacking them up in turn 4. And we have our second caution of the race on only lap number 7. For some of those guys that put themselves to the back by pitting on that first caution, definitely looking as maybe they are regretting that a little bit. But Slama is leading the way from Champeau, Crampton, Masia, Isaacson, Pentacuff, Pizakemi, Marquez, Harmon, and Kraus. A few of them will probably have to pit for repairs. I can see that 81 of Williamson is in for repairs. He did make quite substantial contact in that crash. And we've got a few more takers this time. I see the 7 of Kraus is in. The 81, he's just coming out. The 61 is in. That's Corey Cook. 39 of Watson and the 88 of Hernandez. Remember, the leader does have lane choice as well for these restarts, so Joe Slama does not always have to start on the inside. And it looks like this time he might be choosing the outside lane as the lights are out on the pace car. But Slama, Champo, Crampton, Masia, Isaacson, Pentacuff, Pizzakemi, Marquez, Harmon, and Kraus as your top 10. And here we go for the restart. And Slama out to another big jump early. And this time he doesn't have to worry about sliding up to protect that line. He's already there. And it looks like Crampton's managed to hold on to second. A couple of cars into the fence, one of which being the 5 of Pentacuff, as Pizzakemi makes quick work of him. Although Pentacuff coming back on the outside here a little bit. See, just behind him too is the 38 of Thomas Harmon. Now he was one who was playing around on the lower line a little bit. Pizzakemi got big check up there as he got onto the back of Frank Isaacson. Got a car going slow on the inside. That's Corey Cook. Like he is going pitwood. And so too is a 7 of Kyle Kraus. So maybe a couple of penalties there. I'm not sure. But the race continues on. Joe Slama leading the way right now. And he only has about a 10th of a second over TJ Crampton, who has made his way into P2. And what has happened to our 92 car? He's all the way at the back. I'm not sure how Chris Champeau went all the way to the back, but that is where he is. He's the last car on the lead lap right now. Oh, and you can hear the crunching metal. Not sure if that was actually someone getting into the fence or not. And Slama has lost the lead. Crampton is leading the way now. Slama dropping like a stone. He might have gotten into the fence at some point. Everyone's getting around Joe Slama right now. And Slama is just painfully and slowly getting swallowed up by the entire field. So I suggest that Slama has indeed made quite decent contact with the fence. And now he's dropping like a rock. The TJ Crampton leading away now from Travis and Masia. He has a 1 second gap over Masia. Brian Pizzakemi another 1 second back in third. There's also Kyle Kraus in between Masia and Crampton right now. Let's go have a look at Masia. There's Pizzakemi. He's made his way up to third. And Pizzakemi has definitely closed in the gap to him. It was out to a second. Now it's down to half a second. Frank Isaacson having a good run up there in fourth as well. Can't forget about Frank. Frank, one of the good guys of the league. And Slama is in the pit, so obviously his damage was quite terminal there. Let's set the camera to focus on crashes, as it looks like we're getting a little bit of a run here now. Some of these guys are on the oldest tyres that they've ever been on here. A little bit of contact there between Pentacuff and Marquez. No one in the fence, which is good. Here comes Watson trying to make the move on the inside. I think maybe Mark has touched the fence a little bit as well. He's going very slowly here. Chris Champeau has picked up the pace once more. He's back on the back of this pack. No longer trailing off into the distance. Slama just coming out of the pits. He's crawling. The 81 of Corey. Oh no, that's the 61. Corey Cook is back into the pits. I was going to say Corey Williamson, but he's on the back of this pack. And it definitely looks like things have just calmed out a little bit here. No one's been overly aggressive. There is a lapped car in front of our leader, though, which could play a little bit of fun in here. It's the 7 of Kyle Kraus. He's gotten around the 72 of Crampton. Gotten one of his laps back. In fact, let me have a look, see here. He is actually back onto the lead lap with that overtake. So if we get a caution now, then Kraus jumps onto the back of the pack once more as a lead lap competitor. We're 25 laps into this 150 lap race. Now, I'm not sure how much tyres will play into how these cars are going to handle. I do know it's very easy to overheat them, especially on corner exit. As we saw in practice, a lot of people were doing it. It seems like at the moment we're just ticking the laps away. Let's go and check in on the 38 of Thomas Harmon. He's just sitting behind the 24 of Frank Isaacson right now, just chilling out. And there's quite a large gap, about 2.5 seconds. Back to tonight's sponsor, James Watson, for Team Watson Racing Setups. And then just behind him is Jonathan Hernandez. Let's go back to focusing on crashes here. We're with our third place driver, Brian Pizzicami. And now back to Chris Champeau. And Chris Champeau actually has the fastest lap of the race so far, 22.218. So I'm not all that surprised that he is the one getting shown off here. Oh, and I can hear that familiar metal crunching sound. And I'm just wondering where it's come from. I think it might be Travis Massia. It is. Massia's got some right side damage on this car, and there's a big gap opened up to TJ Crampton now. To the tune of about a second. On the straightaways, it inflates out to about 1.5 seconds. And Brian Pizzicami is all over him right now. You can see Massia now a little bit gun shy about running that higher lane with a little bit of scratching he's put on the side of that Gladiator number 13 car. But we're ticking away the laps here rather quickly right now. As this is probably the best green flag run we've had so far. In fact, it is the best green flag run we've had so far. It's probably also the best run that these drivers have had so far. The 9 of Joe Slama still in the pits, still with an ailing car. Go back to focusing on crashes. And we're once again back with the 92 of Chris Champeau. Although Frank Isaacson was about in the fence, but here we go, move for second. Camera cuts away. We're going to cut back as Brian Pizzicemi is up on the inside of Travis Amasio. Oh, and he's gone for a half spin. Caution didn't come out, but that did not work out for Pizzicemi. He got loose in turn 2 there. And now he's dropped all the way down to 7th behind the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. It looks like he's trying to just get back up into that high lane behind Chris Champeau, which will put him down in the 8th position. And the last thing that TJ Crampton wants right now is a caution. And is it just me, or did it look like Jonathan Hernandez's car was crabbing a little bit the wrong way there? It looks like it's a little bit left side crabby. Like he's knocked a toe out on the right rear tyre, and it's tracking that rear end to the left towards the inside of the track. But I think right now we are going to go to a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll have some more racing action here from the Team Watson Racing Setups 150, exclusively from the Lucas Oil Raceway here on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Welcome back to the Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis, right next door to the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And welcome back to the Team Watson Racing Setups 150. As you can see, TJ Crampton still leading the way. He's got a 1.8 second lead right now over the rest of the field. Travis Amasio still holding on to second over Thomas Harmon now, who has gained so many positions and gone up into third after his 6th place qualifying effort. So he's up 3 for the race. And as I was saying before, things just seem to have really chilled out here, as just saw 78 Ryan Pizzicemi getting into the fence coming out of turn 4. You see here, James Watson defending from Jonathan Hernandez. Hernandez looking really racy right now. As we have a look at Frank Isaacson, who is still having a great run. Oh, Hernandez. He got loose coming out of turn 4 there. He's going to lose a couple of positions to Champeau and possibly Pizzicemi as well. As I was saying before, Pizzicemi is on the preferred line, but he's put it in the fence. Hernandez got loose and Pizzicemi's put it in the fence. So Hernandez will maintain at least 7th. So he's only lost 1 position from that looseness he experienced earlier. Side by side, I think, was Amasio and Harmon. Can Harmon make this move stick? See, just behind them, Frank Isaacson running really hard right now. He diamonded the corner a little bit and he's got a good run. Harmon is up into second, and it looks like Isaacson is trying to challenge for third. Oh, but it looks like it's gone all wrong. He got a little bit loose coming out of turn 4, and that's allowed James Watson now up into the 4th position. And this has also allowed Chris Champeau to close back in on this pack. He was second for a lot of the start of the race, made one small mistake, dropped all the way down to the back. Now here he is back in the top 5 once more. Well, just about back in the top 5 as Frank Isaacson gets loose coming out of 4 again. That will put Champeau into the top 5 this time. You see in the background now, Brian Pizzacchemi also going for the move on Frank Isaacson, who's just drifting at this point. He has absolutely burnt up those rear tyres. They will be red hot, just about lava temperatures, as he has used and abused those rear tyres to their fullest of extents. So we might see him pop onto the pit road soon if a caution does not come out. TJ Cranton still leading the way, and by a long way over Thomas Harmon in the 38 car. And this is not what Thomas Harmon wanted to see. It's a 3.5 second gap as Cranton goes into turns 3 and 4 this time. And he hasn't put a foot wrong. He's got no scratches on this car. He's just been driving smooth. He hasn't put any undue attention onto the rear tires either. And he's just controlling this race ever so nicely. Now, Thomas Harmon, on the flip side to that, has had to battle his way through the field. And he is on a hot one right now. He has pulled out a 1 second gap over Travis Massier in second. And he's trying his darndest to reel in this gap. You see just behind them, the guys are taking different lines now. See James Watson taking the very high line. Travis Massier taking a slightly more inside line, more into fence than anything else at this point. Trying to signal to Watson that if you're going to make the move, you're going to have to do it on the outside. And you're not going to be getting away with it easy. But he's absolutely leaving that door wide open for Watson to try something. Oh, as Massier gets into the fence, coming out of 2. This is what Watson needed. As he's up on the inside, can he make it stick without burring up the tyres? He will. And that is now Watson onto the podium position. Massier now down in 4th. He won't lose too much more from that in the background behind these guys. 78, Brian Pizzacchemi. Just about got a move made on Hernandez on the inside line. But he did not quite have the momentum. He's going to fall back because of that. And Watson now defending from the 13 of Massier for the 3rd position. Watson still running that higher line. Massier still running the lower one. And it just about went unstuck for him again, as he just about hit the wall in turn 2 once more. See the 92 Chris Champeau. He wants to get up there and try and make a move. The 88 of Jonathan Hernandez is trying to make a move. Couldn't quite get it stuck. And he's going to try it once again here in turns 1 and 2. And if he stays down there for long enough, then Brian Pizzacchemi will have no trouble filling that gap that he left open. But he won't get there, and he will slide back up into the gap. As we're now over a third of the way through this race. We're on lap 57 of 150, 56 laps complete. And these guys are all just battling for 3rd. Oh, up the inside goes Champeau. He drifted a little bit coming out of turn 2, just about got it stuck, but didn't work out for him. Hernandez trying to take the advantage and get the move made now. They're side by side coming down the front straight. I think Hernandez was scored in the 5th position as they crossed the line. And if you're going to make this move, you really have to do it in the one corner. If you get stuck down there on the inside, the momentum of that outside lane just is too strong. And you wind up losing out in the end, as Hernandez just about dropped into that gap, which has been slowly diminishing between Champeau and Pizzacchemi. And the gap still does exist. It's just very hard for him to slip up into it. And now Here comes Pizzakemi on the outside line. The 64 Jonas Marquez has headed into the pits. And I do believe that Slama and Corey Cook, both OUT, out of this race. So Marquez is now the only car a lap down. There's a 7 of Kyle Kraus, who is just in front of our leader, is still on the lead lap. Here goes Pizzakemi now, trying to effect an overtake on Champo, trying the exact same thing that Hernandez did. As I said, it works for one corner, but once you start getting into it lap after lap after lap, it just doesn't work out in your favor, and you wind up losing out more in the end. And just quietly, James Watson, contact side to side between Champo and Pizzakemi. There wasn't much in it. It was only a slight little tap. And again, just about. As that time to 13, Travis Massia bounced off the fence. But James Watson, as I was about to say, pulling away from these guys a little bit. As the overtake has been completed by Pizzakemi, moving himself up into the 5th position. And I didn't think he was going to make that move stick on the inside, but somehow he did. He dug down deep and found a way. And it will appear that the 64, Jonas Marquez, is in the pits for a little bit more than just a fresh set of tyres. Like he might have some big damage on that 64 machine. It's unfortunate. As now Pizzakemi makes the move on Travis Massia to move himself up into 4th. He's going to start chasing down the 39 of James Watson. Just in the background there, Travis Massia trying to hold off Chris Champo. But Champo is just too strong, and the champ has got it. And he's going to move up, and so too is Hernandez. As it looks like the handle has fallen off of the 13 Gladiator car. And looming just behind Massia is Frank Isaacson still, who is having a really good run here. Solid P8 right now. Was up in the top 4 for a really long time. Mark Pentecoff has officially gone a lap down. He's the first and only car 1 lap down. Marquez has been in the pit for 8 laps. Made that 9 as our leader, TJ Crampton, comes across the start-finish line this time. As I said, what Kyle Kraus and Mark Pentecoff need right now is a caution. What TJ Crampton doesn't need right now is a caution. He has a huge gap over Thomas Harmon. Harmon is probably not going to catch him. As the 92, Chris Champo, he's coming into the pits. He wants some tyres and he wants them now. So what does this mean for the rest of our field? Crampton has stayed out. He only has 2 seconds over Harmon right now, but it's still a very sizable gap. And with the lap car of Mark Pentecoff between them. He's on 69 lap old tyres. He hasn't pitted a single time this race so far. Here's Thomas Harmon. He is rolling in the 2nd position. And I would imagine his tyres are too 69 laps old, coming to 70 laps old. He has been in the pits a couple times, but I don't think he would have changed tyres. And we have James Watson, who is under immense pressure from Brian Pizzakemi. This is the battle for 3rd that we're looking at on track right now. These guys are 4.5 seconds behind Thomas Harmon. As Chris Champo is a lap down. Now, another person who will be hoping for no caution right now will be Chris Champo. Even though everyone will pit, Chris Champo would have to take the wave around he would not be eligible for Lucky Dog, being the second car 1 lap down right now. Here goes Pizzicami looking to the inside. He's not going to have the speed or momentum. Couldn't quite get the car pulled up enough. And he's just rubbing the fence a little bit there on the front straight. Hernandez trying to close this gap that is behind James Watson. He's diamonding the corner a little bit, if you notice. Hernandez starts up fairly high on the track, and then he dives down to the lower lanes. That's the best way to try and effect an overtake around here. Something that Pizzicami can't do right now with the car on his outside. But Pizzicami definitely holding on strong on this inside line, as it looks like our leader, TJ Crampton, has started to reel in the 7 of Kyle Kraus to put him a lap down. And in all that, Harmon has caught and passed Mark Pentecoff. As these guys continue battling side by side, they've been at it for a couple laps now. And soon the law of diminishing returns will start to take effect. Unless Watson does something silly like rubbing the outside wall on the straight, which will diminish his speed a little bit. As we have reached the halfway point, 75 laps down, 75 laps to go in this race. Oh, just about a forceful slide job there from Pizzicami. He will have the best advantage this time of trying to get into it. Watson was very deep on the brakes going through turn 3. And Watson still has P3 at the line. This is where the law of diminishing returns will definitely start coming into its own. As you saw sideways there was the 78 machine of Pizzicami. He's going to have to drop in behind Hernandez in 5th. As running that inside line just really heats up the tyres so much. It's so hard to keep them under you when you're going through the corner like that. As these guys are still continuing to make their way around the track, I'm trying to keep an eye on where Chris Champeau is. He's actually behind this group of cars. There he is, just popping into screen behind Frank Isaacson. But he has a lot of work to do right now to try and pass all of these guys and Mark Pentecoff just to be in the lucky dog position. And then he's going to have to try and charge after our leaders to get his lap back. He's already getting the run on Frank Isaacson behind these guys. And you see, there's the diamond that I was talking about earlier from Hernandez. He almost had a good enough run that he could have gone for an overtake here in 3 and 4. He starts out fairly high on the track, then dives down low, as now Champeau has gotten around a 13 of Masia. And this time, Hernandez goes all the way down to the yellow line on the inside of the track, trying to make the overtake work. He's not going to get it this time. The law of diminishing returns will start taking into effect soon, but also tyre heat and Chris Champeau, who was there on fresh tyres, he's going to make this 3 wide. And Hernandez says, no, if you're here, I'm just going to back it down and get in behind him once more. You got the fresh tyres, you go through, buddy. But Hernandez still diamonding down the corner a little bit. And now here comes the 78 Brian Pizzicami trying to look for a move on Hernandez. Close quarters battling going on here for the 3rd and 4th positions. These guys obviously battling for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Chris Champeau running his own race right now on a completely different strategy. Oh, big time. Into the fence was the 78 of Pizzicami that time. Hernandez just about rubbing the wall in the middle of the corner, but look at the way that he diamonds down. Now that's the stuff that would make any dirt racer absolutely proud to watch. Now if only he could get a decent enough run to get a proper slide job going on here. But also, by turning this hard into the corners, he's going to be burning up his tyres that little bit more. as the 7 of Kyle Kraus has gone back to being a lap down. But here goes Hernandez now. He's got the run on the back straight. What can he do with it? He goes all the way down to the second lane. He holds side by side with Watson, but Watson with that momentum on the outside brings it back. I think Hernandez was actually third that time at the line, and Watson got the fence. Watson got the fence in turn one. That is all Hernandez needed to get into third this time. And Hernandez will now drive away a happy chappy in the third position. Now let's hope that that didn't damage Watson too much, as he's definitely still getting very close to that outside wall. Playing with fire, some would say. Pizzacchemi trying to size up a move on him now. On the inside, he saw how Hernandez did it. He says, I'm going to have me a piece of that too. The 38 Thomas Harmon looks like he's starting to fall away a little bit here from the 72 of TJ Crampton. There's just about a third of the track between them right now. But the battle still rages on between between Watson and Pizzacchemi. My apologies. Hernandez driven away from these two quite considerably, as I think the handle is well and truly off of the 39 machine. As day has descended into night, the track lights have taken over, lighting up the track surface with their lumens. There's definitely plenty of lumens that have great visibility around this track, unless someone does a big dirty burnout. But just look at the run the outside lane gets. And Pizzacchemi has been on that inside line for so long. His tyres must be getting absolutely burnt up, especially because there's so little banking around this track. It's so hard to get a really good run on this inside line unless you absolutely send it in super deep. But this time, Pizzacchemi has made the move stick, and he is officially clean and clear up into fourth. But Watson doesn't want to give up the fight yet. Still trying everything he can to get around that 78 car. But just quietly, Frank Isaacson has been catching these guys lap after lap. The more side by side he sees in front of him, the happier he is, because the faster he'll catch them. As we're just about at lap number 100, which means we'd be 2/3 the race distance. Now let's set the camera. Well, actually, let's go have a look at how our leader's doing right now. Here he is, TJ Crampton. He's actually just about to catch up to Jonas Marquez, who has made his way back out onto the track. And just in front of Jonas is the 81 of Corey Williamson, who is in 8th. And Crampton absolutely really needs to win right now. Although, yep, Marquez staying to the low line, staying out of the way. He's allowed TJ Crampton through. Now, that is at least 3 lap cars between Crampton and Harmon right now. Go have a look at Harmon, how he's doing. He's just about to catch up to Chris Champeau. He's already dispatched of Mark Pentacup, as we detailed earlier. In fact, Champeau has actually caught and passed Harmon. My apologies. But he is still a fair way back from the leader. Still about a third of the track. And that equivalates to about 5 seconds of gap between himself and Crampton. Now let's focus on crashes, see what we got going on around. Camera's focusing currently on a 24, Frank Isaacson. Now we're back on Corey Williamson, who just recently went a lap down. Williamson is the first car 1 lap down. Jonas Marquez 13 laps down, so he spent 13 laps in the pits getting whatever it was he needed repaired. You see Kraus and Champeau behind. They're both catching up to the 81 car here. It just seems no one can match the pound-to-pound pace of that 72 car. As he's racing off in the distance, currently focusing on Jonas Marquez. And if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all, as Champeau has gotten around Kyle Kraus. He's now the second car 1 lap down. 1 more to go and he'll be the first car 1 lap down. There's our leader, TJ Crampton. Just started lap number 102 of 150. And I don't think the strategy for Champeau has really worked out here. He's the only car that's pitted so far. I mean, he does definitely have pace, as he's now the first car 1 lap down. I just think after he gets around our leader, TJ Crampton, he has to try and do it all over again and pass the entire field once more. And I just don't know if he has the legs in that number 92 Chevrolet to get it done. TJ Grandin's still running a very controlled race here out front. Go back to focusing on crashes, see what we can see around the track. We're looking at Chris Champeau, who is just behind our leader. And now we're looking at Corey Williamson. Now, Williamson and Kraus are actually battling for position here. Marquez is the man in the middle. And these guys battling for 9th and 10th. As you can see, Marquez not being so cordial with these two because they're not the leaders of the race. They were the leaders of the race, but we saw how far he got out of the way for our leader, 72, TJ Crampton. Just behind these guys, you can see Thomas Harmon looming. He's definitely starting to catch up to these guys as well. We'll see how cordial they are with him. I think before that, we are going to go to another quick commercial break here. And when we come back, we will be going to the checkered flag. So make sure you guys stay tuned. And welcome back to the Team Watson Racing Setups 150 here from the Indianapolis Raceway Park to Lucas Oil Raceway. And TJ Crampton still leading the way. Chris Champeau has raced his way back onto the lead lap. And even more than that, he's starting to take position as Travis Massia at threat of going a lap down just in front of our leader. He got loose. There was just about a touch there between our leader and the 13 of Massia. But in the end, a nice little slide job there for TJ Crampton to get around him. Now we only have 7 cars on the lead lap, and Chris Champeau is one of them. First car 1 lap down is the 13 of Travis Massia. It's a very vital position to be if we do get a caution. Having a look at some of the other things we've got going on around the track. So we check in with our second place driver, 38 Thomas Harmon. He's currently embroiled in a battle with a few lap cars here, as the 7 of Kyle Kraus just clouted the fence going into turn 1 and 2. And he's going to lose out on a little bit of momentum here. Thomas Harmon goes for the move on Corey Williamson. As I was saying before, Williamson and Kraus are actually battling for position. Marquez, the man in the middle, not involved with it, but he's providing some excitement for them. As I'm just having a look, there is exactly 1/4 of the track between Crampton and Harmon, to the tune of about 6.5 seconds. Let's go check in on our third place driver. It's the 88, Jonathan Hernandez. And he has a 1.5 second gap back to Brian Pizzakemi in 4th place. And then we've got to look another 1.3 seconds back to the 39 of James Watson, tonight's sponsor. Behind him a little bit as well, the 24, Frank Isaacson. And Frank has been having a great run. He's been in the top half of the field for most of the race. Then we go back to the 92 of Chris Champeau, the last car on the lead lap, who we just saw unlap himself recently. He catches up to Mark Pentacup, who is already 1 lap down. And very shortly, he might find himself going a 2nd lap down. Mark goes to the low lane, gives Champeau the preferred lane on the outside. Now we're going to set the camera to focus on crashes here to see what we see. We're looking at Thomas Harmon, Corey Williamson, our 2nd and 9th place drivers. As now Thomas Harmon has clear track in front of him. He's got quite a bit of space before he catches up to the next car on track, which will be Travis Massia. But he has not been catching up to TJ Crampton at all. Crampton has had control of this race ever since he hit the front. As we're just about, with just 25 laps left in this race. Currently 26 laps left to go. Time is winding down here for Thomas Harmon to make something happen. He has been slowly catching. I'm noticing on the timing board here, he's going a couple tenths faster than Crampton every lap. I think Crampton's on cruise control right now, though. And you see Harmon running a much lower line on the track than what we usually see. He's not up by the fence. He's about second lane there. Second lane drifting up slightly. So very interesting there. Very, very interesting. Preferring that lower line than running up near the fence. Now look at Corey Williamson. Back to Thomas Harmon. And it is working too. Just getting a couple of tenths here and there, but he is closing this gap ever so slightly. Let's see what our leader is doing. He's also running second, third lane. But there might be something in this, running the slightly lower lane with these cars. We'll have to see how this is going to evolve further. Because it looks like Cranton definitely slowed up quite a bit here. He just recently lost 0.5 of a second that last lap. Half a second. The gap is now down to 2.5. So I have a very interesting final 20 laps here, as the gap is coming down. And it's coming down pretty quickly. And even Corey Williamson running faster laps than our leader right now. We could be down for a grandstand kind of a finish here. As now there is nothing between Crampton and Harmon, as Harmon just dispatched of Travis Massia, who, as pointed out earlier, is the first car one lap down. Looks like, oh, Massia in the 13 got very loose. He slammed the inside fence. I don't think we have a caution, but his car is probably done after that. That was a heavy left side impact with the inside fence. Go back to having a look at our leader here. And now Mark Pentecoff between them once more. The gap is down to less than a second. There is Harmon. You can see him in the same shot as Crampton. Crampton wants to win this race. He's going to have to start picking up the pace once more. I think Harmon has been in tyre conservation mode for most of this run. Harmon now trying to dispatch of the 5, Mark Pentecoff. He gets that done easily. Now let's look. Oh, big into the fence for Thomas Harmon coming out of turn 2. But it doesn't look like that slowed him down at all. Let's have a look at the nose at the gap. That is what 0.7 of a second looks like. And that gap is absolutely closing. So we're definitely going to have a battle on our hands here in the final stanza of this race. As we have just 11 laps left to go. And here we go, Thomas Harmon right on the tail of Crampton. If Crampton did want a caution, this is when he'll want it before Harmon has a chance to pounce. See both of them running that lower line, 10 to go now. Harmon going for the move into turn 3, very deep under brakes. And he's got the move made, he's going to slide up, he's going to take the lead here with 9 laps left to run in this race. Will TJ Crampton have an answer for him and try and fight back? It doesn't look like he can, he's losing time to our leader Thomas Harmon right now. You see he's pushing that little bit harder, the tail was just peeking out a little bit there on the 72 car. He's running the slightly higher line, trying to get that momentum going, but Harmon has found something in these lower lanes, and he's just making it work. Let's see how our third place getter is going at the moment. That's Jonathan Hernandez, and he's got Brian Pizzicemi right on his ass as well. Do we have a move going into the final corner? Not quite yet. Very furious battle going on here. And I don't think this one's going to be over till the fat lady stops singing. As the 7 of Kyle Kraus gets out of the way, allows these two to battle on. Look at the outside run for the 78 car. And Hernandez just has no answer for it. He's got no choice but to let Pizzicemi take third place away from him. Go back in and check in on our leaders. And look at the gap that's formed. 5 to go. Harmon has got the lead and he is not looking back. Let's go check in on the 39, James Watson. He's running a lonely race. So too is the 24, Frank Isaacson. Chris Champeau right behind him on fresher tyres. Remember, Frank has not pitted this entire race. Chris pitted 77 laps ago. So his tyres are half the age of Frank's right now. As the 5 for Mark Pentecoff says, I'm getting right out of the way. I'm going to the pits. No one can blame me for getting in the way of anything. And I think he's got fresh tyres on that number 5 car now too. As that was a very quick stop. Let's check in on our battle for third. It looks like Pizzicemi has the measure of Hernandez. We've got just 2 laps to go. And Thomas Harmon already has a 3-second lead. He comes out of turn 4 for the penultimate time. Fred the flag marshal vigorously waving the white flag. There he goes. He waited for the car to actually touch the line. But here we go now for the final time around the Indianapolis Raceway Park, Lucas Oil Raceway. The 38 of Thomas Harmon in victory lane once again as he comes out of turn number 4. He's the champion of Indianapolis. P2 will go to the 72 of TJ Crampton. P3, the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi. And P4, the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. It's like they had a close battle coming to the line. P5 went to James Watson. P6, Frank Isaacson. And what a great run there for Frank. He was up in the top 4 for a bit as well. And Frank should definitely be very proud of his efforts here tonight. Let's go back in on our leader, though. He's already on the front straight. He's already burning it down. So with that, we're going to go to a commercial break. And when we come back, we won't have driver interviews, but we'll have just a little overview of our hard charger and top 3 runners. All right, now it is time for our Hard Charger Award winner. And today's Hard Charger is also our 4th place getter, starting from 10th, finishing in 4th, going up 6 positions from where he started. It is the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Hernandez had a great run. He was involved in an early incident, in fact, one of the cautions early on. And, he bounced back from it. He was running in the top 3. Pizzakemi ultimately getting him at the line there. Of course, speaking about Pizzakemi, our 3rd place getter, Brian Pizzakemi, the 78 car. What can I say? He is just masterful when it comes to coming through the field. He didn't qualify, which ultimately rules him out of being a hard charger contender. But he has just blitzed the field and gone through and finished in 3rd. In 2nd place, we have the 72 of TJ Crampton. What can I say? He dominated for the majority of the race, but as the tyres wore out in those last 30-odd laps, he just could not keep the speed going and ultimately fell short to the 38 of Thomas Harmon, who, what can I say? He's just an absolute monster when it comes to short track racing. He saved his tyres to perfection. He's lucky there wasn't a late caution there, especially with the 13 of Travis Macias spinning out when he did. and that could have definitely changed the complete complexion of this race. But with that, we are going to end off this broadcast here. Make sure you come back next week when we go and tackle um, the Twin Ring Motegi Oval, which will be absolutely exciting. 85 laps around the egg shaped oval in Japan. And that's definitely going to be a spectacle to see. That is once again brought to you by Team Watson Racing Setups, as they are the setup provider for that particular race as well. So until next week, I've been your commentator, the Aussie Sim commentator. We'll see you guys in Japan.